This is the 4-hour euro versus the yen. And this is the one that I was showing earlier that I was in this trade. And that's the entry scripts actually. And I said, well, this thing's not going anywhere. And we're just sitting here waiting and waiting and waiting when we could have scalped. This is a 25 pip grid. We could have scalped all this nonsense in here. And we could have made 50 pips back and forth. At least 30 pips with a 20 pip stop or 15 pip stop to make 30 and all these different variations. So the more variations, the more robust the system is because you're not depending on one idea of I'm trying to make 40 pips. So let's see. Let's get in here because I was told that if you got in new lows, that this is the lowest, the best price around was to make the new low here. And that was Sunday. That was the end of the week. And just like the euro, we're trapped down there, and it's going to be pip dependent. This moves up quite a bit of pips, pretty fairly here. So we go screaming all the way up to. So if you didn't know what was coming next, you did know that there was this vacuum filling. So you had to sit back and say, well, I don't know if I want to sell that until we get to the top of whatever this is. So what is the top of that, and what kind of what's going on now? So here it's going to be a little bit of a chatterbox, I suppose, up here. Most of the smart money, the winning traders, went short in this window, right? So they're looking for the scalp, and if they just make it back to the top of this, those people that would trade that, and there's the people that sold as soon as you got above this wedge, and this is what I consider to be the critical area, we just shave that off. But now there's an order imbalance for that, and we're probably going to want to put buy limits in trailing here. So I would say for 4 hours I'm getting there, and I'm putting 8-hour scripts are going to go in this box. Just crude stuff, and I extend it out in space to represent the fact that they're going to last twice as long. Let's say these are going to be. A whole day would be carried into, so you got to think a little bit ahead. And I would drop, say, this is just a 3K, but this is a daily script, so I'd place it right on that wick, and you could put a pack in here, say, so that's total risk, that's $12 to make 18 bucks. So you could stack that in there if you can afford that, and just let it play out, right? I guess the problem is waiting for that to play out. So when you come down to this trap here, and you're like, oh yeah, it's going to take forever to make money on that. Yeah, it is, because if you're really looking for that target, look at all these times you could have cashed out, and if you're in really big, you're going to notice that. Also, you could have said, well, I'm just going to wait for it to break out here, and you see that beautiful breakout pullback, and I guess the confirmation guys are getting in there like, yeah, I don't think that's going to be able to hold back into this vacuum much longer. And it just doesn't, right? Everybody, whether they like it or not, so the bears that ran the trailing stops here, there's another wedge here, right? This is a classic situation here, and then they shear that off. So there's a lot of orders stacked up, and a lot of the trailing robots would have done a cancel replace, right? As they're coming down the stairway to hell. One man's hell's another man's heaven, though. So you're, and then you've got this area here that's kind of no man's land, so to speak. So you just cut through that, and we've seen that a million times. And then we're backing off into Asia, maybe come to here. Would you buy? I'd buy anywhere below where we're at now. So I'm always thinking, sure, if I think it's going up here, I want to start scaling into buys. And if it comes to here, that's better than if it comes to here. But it could actually go, I've seen this happen. Not this time of night, but that's the 4-hour chart. It's going to take quite a bit to get us back to that. Like, it's already popped the cork, although you could drift around here and get ready for like a... So you need to have that kind of consolidation on some level to get the big moves. And this whole... you're underneath this, underneath the clock Here, let me move this clock over here. So this is considered the threshold for the structure, is this low. And you got 4 wicks there, so that's 12-hour hammer job. And that's doesn't perfectly come back to that. Kind of overshoots the highway there. So I'm not into this optimal trade entry because I'd sell anywhere to there. It doesn't quite make it to this low, I don't think. Can I just nick the wick there, maybe? Pretty close. But that's a little tight. I'll take anywhere in there. In fact, I'll take the 25 pip window or even the 50 pip window and just place orders in there and just put enough scalps in there so you know that when, you know the thing. So when you come down to here, man, those Bidenisms are just, I can't wait for the show tonight. So I'll do this video before the highest viewed, just unfucking believable debate, supposedly, even though people are claiming it won't happen. But look at this classic, this is the low, and people are saying, yep, that's it. I mean, so that very first scalp, you'd have to get that off, and this is where you would have to redo those orders because even though you should take these 50 pips off the table. If you bought this plunge on limits, you definitely want to get out here. And you should have that as your first target because otherwise you're going to waste all this, lock up all this margin when all you got to do is come in with buy limits down here. So if you think it's going up, I guess that would be the fear of missing out is staying in when you should get out. The fear of missing out is either going to be get into something or stay in something because I want to ride this thing. And sure, this could just slightly drift back and then just keep ripping north. That could also happen. So anything can happen. But, this thing fell out of bed on last Sunday night. Bam. And this first scalp, you could have been done for the week. Or you can place buy limits in this 25 pip pocket here thinking, gee, you think they come back and retest that 3 times and you make your 25 pips or your 40 pips and then look at this classic Wyckoff where you come down one more lower and then you jump the creek here, as you would say. But this is just your classic auction floor that's completely denied. 3 bangs on that and then off to the races. Now, if you did hold through the whole position, you didn't take off the scalp, and you bought this pocket and you dumped everything up here, yes, it's a completely that's twice as much money. But what if you did both? You have a bank in here that's going to scalp to here, and then you got a bank in here that's going to ride it to here. Right? This is your measured move. This is twice of that move. We've seen this a million times, although that same narrative's going on inside of here. I'm sure there's Fibonacci's and whatever have you in here. So as you get down to this stuff, man, this crazy trade's going on in here where you're just in the market. You just made 25 pips in 1 hour or in 5 minutes or 15 minutes inside of here, especially here. If you got a buy limit here, they come down and they touch that. They go up almost 50 pips in 12 hours back up to the top, and you're just caught in this annoying for anybody that's short, anybody that's long is just saying, well, when are we going to shift either up to here or down to here? So it's only got 2 choices there. It's not going to go this way. What we know for certain, it's not going to go like this forever. You can't go sideways forever because it'd be like the market's closed, right? There's nobody that's taken it to an extreme. So the extremes are the entries. And when you think, oh, look at this spot to tanks, because if you have a bias of that this isn't a downtrend, every time you see it start to take off to the downside, you're like, oh, look, it's going to tank. Oh, look, it's going to tank. I'm sure in your mind. And you're holding into it. Meanwhile, it comes all the way back to your breakout. So the goober that gets in here on a sell stop is thinking, fuck, I was up on that trade and I didn't get out. And the guy that bought on limits he's up on this part of the trade and didn't get out. So when the other guy's up, the other guy's down, they're both upset because they didn't take advantage of that fast move. I mean, these are not going to last forever. It's not going to just keep going. I mean, it could, I suppose. If this was a 15-minute chart, the news came out, it goes screaming up and never looked back. So inside of here, and we've already had like a wick, a little bit of a taking out of the last 4 hours wick. So if you're going to do a trailing stop entry, you think you're going to build your holy grail, but no, you haven't taken out the low actually from the last 4 hours, but this could keep going up still too, right? There's no kind of and look how brutal this vacuum is up here. This just goes screaming into this, and people just be like, what the fuck? I thought this thing was going to pull back. Yeah, maybe up here. So if you're placing orders in this window, yeah, that's a great trade, but you're going to wait a long time for that. In the meantime, should you come in with shallow buy limits or start buying at the market in anticipation that you're going to pop into this window and make this money, right? So I think it's just like, where's the nearest money you can possibly make before you die? I mean, come on, people. We're not waiting for a monthly setup. Well, we'll trade candles on the monthly. And what we do here yeah, my candlestick mentorship's not going too good. A lot of people are dying before they can get a trade. It's just... Oh yeah, the candlestick mentorship. It's called. I decided to call it Mastering Candlesticks. Kind of an original thing, or Candlestick Lifestyle. Mastering the Candlestick Lifestyle. It's $3,500 for the first 10 days, and then we do a background check, and then we have it. We do a tracer. We want your email. We want to. You got to make sure you're wearing your mask when you receive our brochure, because we want you to return it, because we can't afford it. We're in a budget here, so I don't even know how where do people find the time to manage that? I forgot what I said about ICT. How does he manage all those people that are like, come on, give me another piece of the puzzle? So I went on Twitter, because he banned me from his Twitter page, so I just typed in ICT on the Twitter. And there's a guy out there, some trader, Captain something, and he does this thing where he calls in to withdraw $1 million from a demo account. It's just it's unbelievable. So he does like a rap song about ICT. Okay, rescue an aircraft. I got my phones all pimped out with the latest police scanner things, so I'm listening to riots now for entertainment. Hey, you got to pass the times. Hey, listen, they're free. It's free entertainment. You can't go to the movies, so watch the one on the street. Apparently, that's what people just went. They went from reality TV to just reality. You don't need the Netflix. Just look out your window. A mob of spoiled brats screaming. Poor little things. I remember the 60s. This is pretty rough situation. So we're waiting for the big debate. This is going to be crazy. People are going to lose their minds. They're going to think it's rigged when Trump takes 48 states. That's my prediction. Write me down for that. People have no clue how pissed off people are. I'm telling you, man, people have had it. I see people, they got a look on their face now. You can see some people aren't wearing a mask finally. I'm like, I see these people wearing masks, but I noticed this is the trend, is that if it's a black mask, it's kind of cool because it's like you feel like you're in an old Western. I kind of want to get the mask that has I'm just going to go full KKK hood. It's a mask. Oh, sir, you can't come in here. I like those guys down in Texas that put the swastikas on their masks. Right off the bat, I go, yeah, who hasn't thought of that one? Why aren't we there already? Oh, boy. So it's going to be so crazy because when the market moves tomorrow, which I suspect the Dow Jones is going to probably be volatile, whether it goes up or down. When it's going down, they'll say, well, Trump fucked up. He beat the shit out of Biden and Biden had a bloody nose. And if it goes down, it'll be... People want to attach a reason to anything, but it's going to be crazy. I I think we're going to go sideways in all these markets. So people will spin every move and they'll say, look, that's because of that. Oh, okay. You know what? I just want to ride I want to get in before we crush into these vacuums. But the whole time realizing I got to scale out, even though I think that sometimes it could go on forever. It certainly feels like that, especially if you're up on the trade. But I like going flat at the end of the session, like so. Certainly at the end of the week, and the whole thing could turn around at the end of the week. So if I'm in, I figured tomorrow's Wednesday. It'll be crazy jobs report. I don't know if there's FOMC tomorrow. So I didn't look, but I suppose this debate, well, I don't know. We're just coming into Wednesday, so you could just blame it on Wednesday. But the dollar looks like there's no reason why the dollar shouldn't go up in value because the Fed said they're not going to touch the interest rates, which means you've got something it's like there's no news that's going to affect it from the Fed. They're just saying we're not going to disturb the market. So when the Fed intervenes and plays games with it, and people try to speculate what they're going to do, it creates a kind of there's no one person trading it that's making money, right? It's just a bunch of people trading against each other. And sometimes the house wins. And the house just being the majority of people on the side of the trade that was the move that was there, it doesn't mean they were in on it. So in a thin market, the market can move really big. And there doesn't have to be a lot of people on that move or even a lot of trading. In other words, a big house isn't in that move. So the big boys kind of keep the market from coming unwrapped because if you look at during the holidays when supposedly the big boys are all out partying, the market makes extreme moves and the spreads are brutal because nobody's there to liquefy the market. So this whole thing about where they want to push it, no, it's just a big heap of moronic people just pulling at the price. Nothing special there, nothing to see there. So if you think that, and people do think that Trump murdered people, you got to be out of your fucking mind, okay? You just stop watching my channel right now. Because that is the most harebrained shit. That's like saying my broker blew up my account. Dude, you pulled the trigger, you dumb fuck. I mean, if you wanted to be in lockdown fucking heaven, stay the fuck. When you first saw the first rack of missing toilet paper, what the fuck are you doing at the store buying toilet paper? If this is the most contagious motherfucker that ever came down the pike, so anybody that says this bullshit, they're just fucking their head up their fucking ass, okay? So stop it. I don't know. I can't believe people are thinking that. Is this just clickbait for my brain? When I hear people say that shit, I'm like, are you just trying to like see how long before I punch you? Like, what are you filming me? Am I on camera? Like, you trying to fuck with me with these dumb fucking ideas? But there you go. People believe it, and people have bought it because the kids went to fucking public school and their brains are mushified from this shit. I mean, I know a girl. She was about 14 years old in the coffee shop, and she said, "Hey, do you know what time it is?" And I said, "Yeah." Like, duh. There's a clock on the wall. And she turned around, looked at it. She goes, "Yeah, but what time is it?" I said, "Well, problem there is analog clock." She couldn't tell time on an analog clock. So I have my analog clock here because I just like the idea I can see the pie. It's coming up on digital clock. Fucking annoying. I mean, 727, where is that in space? That's like a quoted number. That's like a price quote. Well, the euro's trading at 180. I'm like, can I see a chart? Like, where the fuck is this? In the landscape of all prices, where the fuck is that price? And this analog digital, the kids with the digital shit, wow. And everything's a fucking 3-letter fucking abbreviation. Some guy said that ICT was a goat. And I'm like, what the fuck is a goat? I thought it was a religious thing. I thought ICT was some, I don't know, because, he's got that religion, inner circle religion. So I thought, what's a fucking goat? Like the goat's head soup? Like he's like a Rolling Stones fan? Like, don't know. But, markets are so quiet. Asia. So we're trading the Asian breakout here on the yens. Everything's going to break out. I've seen this other times before. Everything goes up. Let's take a look. Let's go around the block here. Let's take a look at Bitcoins. The kids are trading the Bitcoins. That was a good buy. You could have bought that yesterday's sell-off. There was a nice wick. Place to get long on Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin's had some shenanigans. So this is like a mini crash on Bitcoin. And if I was a Bitcoin trader, I'm sure you know I'd be buying there. And I guess a lot of people had to get out there, right? That's about to become a top in Bitcoin. A classic. And then, of course, here comes the buyers, and their hope is that we're going to cut into this hole. And the people that are short here are hoping we're going to just break down into this stuff. Here was your kind of wedge supply area here to get in limits or at the market. Like it's down one day. Oh, boy, we sheared this stuff off, right? So we backfilled this pocket, just cleared that out. And we kind of cleared that out. I guess you could say you're done with that trade. So really, which price pulse are you trading is the question. You got to figure, well, you want to wait for a setup like this where you get the, finally we come back to here and you get some buy limits in there, or are you going to figure you bought this and here's your top become a bottom, I suppose, and close before you leave the station. You go smashing into here just like the euro. You know you got to get out on something up in this. Probably get divergence here on a short 3-period RSI. You get a failure swing here. And this is not bad. I guess this is like $300 back and forth. And maybe we're going to sneak above the border here and then just walk to here and then come back and then maybe like this or maybe like that, right? The frequency of trading is going to be the key. Like how often do you want to pull the trigger or get out, go flat? So it's the end of the month right here. And are we going to be able to stay below this floor? Or is this going up and then gold's going up and everything could go up? And I guess if this goes up, it means there's inflation and some bizarre, or does that mean that there's less Bitcoins available? So you really kind of uncharted water here. I mean, when Bitcoin started, people were like, what the fuck? And I'm like, yeah, it looks just like another crazy penny stock to me. I'm sure, Apple, if you dialed down on Microsoft in the early, all the data in Microsoft, and looked at the chart, it probably started off like something like this, and then it became more developed. And then once it got way up there, like if Bitcoin gets up, and there's less speculation, it kind of smooths out a little bit there, but it seems like there's a sympathy move. So any stock sells off, even if that sector is really a really popular bullish sector. There seems to be the index situation where the Dow's down. Everybody considers, well, there may be one stock up in that index, but most of it's down. And it's weird because they come up with these indexes and they weight them and they pull shit in and out. So in the old days, there was just really the Dow Jones Industrials, but now they got stuff on there that's digitally industrial. There's no dust in the industrial, anymore. So, waiting for that Bitcoin to go up, and what else? Here's the other wackadoodle pair is the euro versus the pound. That thing came back and actually overshot the target a little bit, like it was supposed to come back to here, and I'm sure there's plenty of a decent trade there, buying below here. Cashing out to here and then holding for the engulf. He still could. It's going to take, my next target would be up in here, and I'd be a seller there anyway. So every time it goes like 20, 50 pips, I'm in. So it's just kind of rinse and repeat this whole situation here. All this slamming around looks pretty brutal here because the pound's part of the picture. And it moves a lot of, it's expensive currency. It's just always expensive. Here's the good old dollar Swiss all the way back to the starting gate because of the so if you sold this one all the way into new highs, selling more at the top naturally. But I think that's the part people leave out is the psychological situation, because you could have made, you got to look back at this and say, there's the 25 pip scalp, if you had sell limits laid in that hole. So buy limits in this hole now and looking to make the 25-ish, right around 25. Doesn't have to be perfectly 25. Okay, so time to go make some popcorn for the, I'm still waiting for the dollar yen to go up. It's like waiting for Godot here. But I was looking at the daily for the entry, so we're sitting right here ready to crack above. I think we kind of just took out the trend line today on this. Actually, I'm going to say right there, we just broke above it. I'm just using that as a volatility wedge, really. So this whole territory I'm looking to fill all the way up there. Plenty of selling here. Plenty of selling above that. This is another wedge thing. Big, brutal, and there'll always be sells, but if I wasn't long, I'd put buy limits in here hoping for a crush. So if we pop up here and then London opens, you can still come crushing back. I'm just trying to make it to here, about here. Then, once you banked all that, those pips, you can go flat, come in with the limits, or go to another currency and do the same trade. So here it's going to look like buy limits 25 pips deep and then a ton here. I don't know if we can make it back to there. I'm willing to settle for anything back to this. And then because the volatility is low right now, this is the 4-hour. You could buy at the market. With a tight stop, they stop you out. They crush back into the limits. Then you take that side of the trade. So it's kind of like a, I would say it's just like a stop out and then re-enter as opposed to a stop and reverse. Like stop and reverse would be, instead of sell stops, you'd have 2 sell stops, and it would break lower. But I don't like that kind of entry because I don't want to get whipsawed and trapped. I'd rather just have them stop me out and get back in deeper on limits because I still think it's going up. And if I get in tight, stops, I'm down like 10%. I'm going to buy 30% more when it crushes down, and then I'm going to make the 60% on the 30. This way, it's like, yeah, I guess I'm... if I run a 12 pip stop and the spread's 2, that's about as tight as I could ever think about trading it. Because 10 pips, I mean, I kind of want to get in a 4-hour move that's like this one. So if I put buy limits in this pocket here, so 50 pip window, they come crushing in. I want to scalp something to here, and then maybe ride the rest of it there, and then I'm going to get out. Because after they fill this void, it's like it's done. The party's over. Right now, we're filling this giant saucer here, and we filled it to here, and it's kind of drifty. And you might get a couple little wicks here, like a 25 pip wick action, where you have a sell limit up there, and it comes back, and that's the trade. Or you have a buy limit here, and just that's it. But having the 25 pip grids down here that are just sitting here all day, all week, waiting for that crush and out, and the trade's over, like this one. Buy limits in here, bam, bam, it's done. Sell limits here, smash up, smash back. You just have to be able to ride that, because you're going to be underwater for some of that. Here was the divergence, pretty steep. And on the daily, in this currency, there was a sweet 2-period divergence right there. So that's the floor we're back to, and we're waiting for Asia, and then there could be a sell-off here, and then that's the pocket you'd fill to the top of that, and that 4-hour wedge is just nothing but that little thing now there. So everything kind of condenses up. This is technically a sell from a RSI, more overbought, lower price kind of deal there. But there was a divergence and kind of divergence here, pretty long-legged on the 3. Yeah, so I could see this. Come back to here. We get in or sell here. Just throw a grid out there. It's kind of like how fast it can get there. And if they last all day, that's going to make a difference. These are all things to consider. I was going to say the top become a bottom on RSI is the other thing. Interesting kind of pattern. It's a, so you can see it on the 4-hour chart. Going to zoom out a little bit there. So this is what I learned about this RSI. I was like, well, top becomes a bottom right here. It's hard to believe, but it's just screaming so hard up, and that's a 3-period RSI. So selling because it's overbought, I'd be real careful because it doesn't come down, and then bam. So that's happening in RSI, but it's not happening in price, because here's the references for that price right here. So in a way, it's before price. It's finding support in RSI. It's leading indicator. Here's a severe quadruple divergence, and so it's better on the 4-hour chart. It's got more dynamics, more. You can see, this probably come back to here. RSI come back to here, and then this thing that's when RSI just goes completely. People can't believe how low it can go. But see, it rarely gets down here, and those are the entries. So you can take this entry out of the picture. You wouldn't buy this one, even though you could trade it to this and then down. But to each his own, as they say. So we're going to go back and get ourselves some popcorn and go watch this debate. This should be the most hilarious thing in the world.